Hey everybody, so today we're going to talk about Linux gaming. So, just a few days ago, I installed Ubuntu Linux and I've absolutely fallen in love with it. And I basically started really thinking about what is the potential with gaming with Linux. So, that's going to be sort of the main topic of today's video blog. On another note, I want to apologize that I haven't posted actually in a while. Life's just been really busy over the last few years, and yeah, I've just basically been busy with a lot of different things, a lot of different programming projects, some of my apps, some of my different websites, whatnot, and really haven't been doing much video blogging lately. But I'm gonna try to get back into it, and we'll see how that goes. I guess with business and other things and whatnot. But yeah, so I do apologize for not posting, um, you know, anything recently. Been busy with again a lot of stuff. So let's get back to the concept of Linux gaming. So the other day, um, I installed Linux because my laptop, my gaming laptop, which I spent over 3 grand on, had Windows 10, and Windows 10 crashed on me. And over the last couple months, and then I kept on restoring it from a command line, and then an update would be forced upon me, and then it'd crash again. And I just got sick of this, and I just said, "Man, I'm just tired of this. Like this is 2017 right now, and this is like it's 1997. Like in the last 20 years, it's like operating systems feel like they haven't gotten better or anything like that." And so I got really frustrated. I just basically just said, okay, you know what? I have an old computer, and this old computer is in one of my other bedrooms. Not the one that crashed, a different computer that hasn't been really been working. I even have a fresh install of Windows on it, and that computer always tends to reboot all the time randomly, um, you know, regardless of being a pretty fresh install. So let me test it out on that. And I installed Ubuntu um, version 17, and right off the bat, I just fell in love with it. A number of years ago, about 10 years ago, I actually installed Ubuntu, and I liked it. Don't get me wrong, I really actually liked it back then. But I succumbed to the pressure of just where everything was just Windows based. A lot of my programs were Windows based, and the world's just a Windows world, right? And so I took a couple computers and installed Ubuntu, and I gave it to my parents who just needed to surf the web, and they liked it. It did the job. But yeah, for the most part, I went back to the Windows world, right? And so this in the last couple of days it really sort of said, okay, well, why don't I check up different options, because it's clear the experience of Windows is not really going to get any better, right? And I just fell in love with Ubuntu and Linux just for a number of reasons. So for one, the interface, the user interface is just super clean and very well thought out and intuitive, much better than Windows 10, for sure. Um, Everything just made sense. Everything was ready to load. All my drivers, I didn't have to really do anything complicated there. And it just looked like it was out of the box, ready to go. Everything from how it's designed, from being able to, if your system crashes, being able to boot from the operating system from a CD, just all seemed to make sense. The second thing is that computer that was having a problem, which was rebooting all the time with um, basically even on a fresh install of Windows, has not been an issue at all. Like it's just been completely clean experience. I've been trying to overload it, seeing if I can get multiple processes running and get it to sort of throw up and get overloaded, and it hasn't. Right? It's been performing phenomenally. Maybe that will change over time. From my understanding, Ubuntu is like Windows in the sense that it does age, and I guess will be the equivalent of a registry, gets bigger and slows down. But from what I've heard, it's much less so, not to the extent of Windows. And so basically I just sort of made the decision. I said, man, like this is what I'm going to be sticking with, I think, right? And I'm also a developer, and really, there's a lot of more tools available, via Linux and Ubuntu as a developer. So it just kind of makes sense to have a better tool set, right? But the one thing that obviously held me back was saying, okay, you know what? Even if I use Ubuntu or Linux as my sort of main stuff to get my things done on a day-to-day level, gaming pretty much is still very much Windows. It's a Windows world, right? And so I downloaded a few games, like this Tux racing game and things like that. And really what it came down to is that I didn't see anything that was really graphically great. And that's really all that's holding it back because, for the most part in the gaming world, even over the last 10 years or 20 years, well, let's say 10 years actually, the main thing that's really always improved is the graphics, right? I mean, sound hasn't really improved substantially. You do have things like network gaming, which has been, a concept that changes your interactivity with playing multiplayer and sort of co-ops and whatnot. You have, like social integration with social media, be able to share your results with your friends and whatnot, or even play Facebook games and things like that. But for the most part, graphics has always been the real driver with games. You do also have things like more memory space and more hard drive space, so then therefore you have bigger games, you can do more open world concepts which have a lot more detail in them, or even have existing frameworks that sort of programmers can have a higher starting point using that engine and develop more detailed games. But again, graphics still is the main thing. This might be taking into another avenue with virtual reality, the Oculus Rift, which I think might be the next big thing to really take gaming off to the next level because, quite frankly, I've been a little bit also, bored, which is why I haven't really posted recently very much, because I've just been finding, the experience of gaming hasn't really fundamentally changed too much, and there hasn't been really anything that interesting. So with that was the main thing that I was seeing that was really lacking with these games, and I really sort of questioned, is it it can't be the hardware if the actual operating system is performing more efficiently than Windows itself. I mean, it's a more efficient operating system. It's very baseline, works better. With Windows, you have things like DirectX, which allows you to get straight to the hardware and, program calls and get faster calls right now. I don't know what those details are with Linux, but I imagine that there's stuff out there or stuff in development. And ultimately, Windows exists not because it's a better operating system, it's just because people support it. People are there, right? And there's this presented illusion of it being a more supported operating system in the sense that, there's more people doing it and they have a big corporation driving it, which is Microsoft. But in actuality, it's not really, a stronger operating system or product when you look across the board. Like even on an enterprise level, like I'm a big fan of open source technology, programming something in PHP versus ASP, utilizing JavaScript, HTML5, things like that, versus a Visual Studio Suite, because the end product I don't find is necessarily better and with Microsoft technologies, right? I mean, it's just something that people fall into that. So the gaming world itself, it's just that's been where the following is. But if the following did go towards Ubuntu and Linux, then I would think it stands to reason. Again, I haven't delved into all the details of this. That it should be fully capable for a great gaming environment. So that's actually going to be a little bit of a pet project of mine, is that being a developer myself and having a few new games I'm coming out with this year for iPhone and Android as a mobile developer. to even investigate the potential with the Linux market, because years ago I thought to myself that the mobile gaming platform was a great platform for the independent developer, because they can make a lot of good stuff that would be relatively competitive with what the top of the line would be from a, say, professional studio. That's kind of, I think, changing a little bit because that market's being flooded. But there's definitely a huge community still with Linux and Ubuntu and whatnot, and probably not enough great stuff out there. And again, I'm thinking that it really all comes down to is that's just the supported following, not the actual capabilities of the operating system and hardware. And my opinion, again, might change as I delve into the details, but I think it's a great community, and this all stems off of just looking at the operating system of Linux and seeing how far it's come in 10 years and just being like, wow, like this, like it just was completely clear to me from seeing it back in 2007 to now 2017 that like this is going off on its own trajectory, and Windows is pretty much more or less going to be the same. Yeah, they can steal stuff and add bash scripts and all this other stuff, but it's still going to be generally the same clunky system that's like an old Chevrolet, right? The best analogy that I heard from it was that with Windows is like it's like a wall that when it breaks, everything you can't take out. It's like a granite wall. It's all one piece. Whereas Linux is, it may break, but it's more like a brick wall. You can extract that brick and fix it better, right? And that's sort of the key thing that makes Windows a challenging system, right? So overall, but yeah, so I mean, I think really, like there could be a really exciting world for independent developers for Linux and Ubuntu and whatnot. And again, a lot of stuff is not supported on that platform. It's not popular, and maybe that's why people shy away from it, but also maybe even thinking about what's the revenue model, right? Because a lot of people are expecting stuff to be free in the community of Linux, but it could be ad driven very well, and just like mobile games and whatnot. But I really could see Linux just having a really great following. Again, like I'm a classic case of being like I shelved it for a while and came back and just was like, wow, right? And it just had to be like one really crappy experience again with Windows for the umpteenth time to finally be like, okay, like I'm just tired of doing this junk, and just I want to have a good experience from a day-to-day stuff, right? And again, the way I see the operating system, it really does seem ready. Like it seems ready for a prime time experience in my mind, right? So with that, looking at the potential of gaming with that. So I'm really excited to explore that further. But yeah, I mean, like honestly, if the gaming side was great, I'd see no reason why I'd just not to use Ubuntu through and through. So it'll be interesting, say, maybe a follow up to this post, maybe like a year or 2 years from now, as I investigate as a game developer Ubuntu and Linux gaming and what the potential is to develop on that. What my conclusions would be. So that's about it. So yeah, have a great day.